Hello there, my friends. Assalamu alaikum. I hope you are doing well. It's good to be back with you with another episode looking at some of the verses of the Qur'an and rereading the Qur'an from a perspective that is from within the Qur'an and using a rational reading of the Qur'an. In other words, omitting or putting as secondary any other perspectives like Hadith, Talmud, etc. So, which verses do I want to go through with you in this episode? Look, I'm going to look at a very contentious and a sort of difficult to explain set of verses which appear in chapter 27 called The Ant. And I'm going to read from verse 20 onwards. And I'm going to, the contents, the general way in which these verses have been translated is extremely fantastic, almost like beyond belief. They almost look like they come out of the 1001 Arabian Nights. And now again, some of you are going to say to me, Anwar, but you know what? If there are genies and flying palaces and talking birds and all of this, that is not outside the power of God, the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And all I'm saying is that we need to seek a rational explanation that is in tune and in line with what we have in our understanding and our experience of the world, can find that fits in with that rational understanding or worldview that we have. And if you are going to tell your children that they are genies and flying around with pulling palaces out of the earth, and there are birds talking and chatting away, and somebody's having a conversation with a bird, you are creating a religious understanding that is going to alienate the people who are not experiencing those things in their lives. Now, on another planet, in a different universe, yes, people might see flying genies with palaces, carrying palaces around, or, birds talking. But in our experience, we need to seek an explanation, an understanding that is true to the meaning, true to the Qur'an, true to the language, but also true to our rational experience, so that our deen, our religion, our philosophical worldview is not at odds. We don't have a disconnect between what we believe rationally, what we practice in our everyday lives, and the religious worldview which we hold. And that is why I've reread these verses and I've sought an understanding that is in agreement, being faithful to the meaning of the Arabic words. And I will be referring to the dictionary quite frequently when I go through these verses. Now let's first look at the traditional understanding of these verses. I'm going to quickly show you a video. I think it's about 3 or 4 minutes. And in this video, I want you to just take in the traditional understanding of these verses.
One of the main possessions she had, beautiful throne of hers with that little palace that she had where she used to sit on the throne. Sulaiman says, which one of you can bring that throne to me here before they arrive here in submission? They are coming. Before they come here, bring the whole throne. Lift it up and bring it here. Amazing. قال عفريت من الجن أنا آتيك به قبل أن تقوم من مقامك وَإِنِّي عَلَيْهِ لَقَوِيٌّ أَمِينٌ. Ifrit, who was one of the most powerful jinn, he says, I will bring it to you before you get up from where you are seated. Sulaiman used to sit from the morning to the afternoon. So which means in one morning, I'll have it right in front of you, everything. And you know what? I am so trustworthy that all the different diamonds and the different jewelry and all the beautification and adornment, I will bring it in such a way that it will remain intact. Just lift it all off, fly it down here and drop it down, meaning bring it exactly where you want it. Sulaiman alayhi salam, as he's still pondering, another one speaks. قال الذي عنده علم من الكتاب أنا آتيك به قبل أن يرتد إليك طرفك. The one who had knowledge of the book, the one who had knowledge of the book of revelation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are not so sure exactly who that was, but it is someone who had knowledge granted from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What does he say? He says, Ya Sulaiman, I will bring exactly what this one wanted to bring before you get up, but I will bring it to you before your eye returns as it blinks next. And as he blinked, Allahu Akbar, it was in front of him.
Okay, maybe I should just offer you some more context. The context of these verses, and we are going to read from, I think, about verse 20 in this chapter called The Ant, chapter 27. And the context is where Solomon, King Solomon, the heir to King David, he gets word of a kingdom that exists, a fair distance from where he is based. And this is the kingdom of Sheba. And there's a queen that rules this kingdom, or queendom, I don't know how you call it. And she, at some point during the story, I'm going to go through the verses, but I just wanted to give you an idea of how the traditional understanding is, how fabulous the original translation is. And so the genie comes and promises him, listen, I can dislodge a palace and a throne from the earth in the Sheba kingdom and bring it to you. And then somebody else who is versed in the books and so on, he makes even a more powerful offer. He says, no, I can just make her kingdom, her palace and her throne appear instantly to you. And so this type of fabulous, fantastic image is conjured up from the words of the Qur'an. And I mean, it is a common translation. It is not as if it is a unique or a fringe translation. If you look with me through the translations, you will see some of the meanings here of these words, of these Arabic words, are kind of in line. But they do, if you care to look at those translations, you will find that they are in fact fairly contradictory. Like they are not really very, very aligned to each other. So somewhere there's obviously something fishy going on. The key words here are the throne, the word arsh. Arsh is a very key word, and I want you just to remember that word for a moment. I'm going to take you through those verses, in a nice and easy, steady way, and I promise you I will not rush through it. I will take my time and take the key words and go to the dictionary and slowly, with you, develop an understanding that I believe has been missed by translators in general. Now, before I get to the verses, I just want to get one or two things out of the way, and that is, I always hammer on this, and that is the importance of nuance, the importance of precision, and also the nature of idiom in language. Now, in the English, or let's say the American way of speaking English, I want to take an example because we all, have a fair diet of American television, media, social, posting, etc. So if somebody says he scored a home run, somebody uses that idiom, he scored a home run, or, it obviously, it requires the image of a very popular game, right? Baseball. And a home run is hitting such a powerful shot in the game of baseball that allows you to complete the full cycle around the course, right? I'm not familiar that familiar with baseball, but it's just a damn good shot, right? It's a damn good shot that lands a home run, and it almost like wins your team the game, or it puts your team ahead in the game, or it just like advantages your team, right? That's an idea. That's an idea. That's an example of idiom, of how images are used in language. There are many other ways that sports are used. Like, we always said it's a Monday morning quarterback. I don't know. I might be embarrassing myself here with using the wrong American idioms here, but it's almost like you come Monday morning when you've seen the match, and then you want to criticize, and you like a flippant good player, but you have hindsight. So all of these, the Americans like to use sports as an idiom. Like here in our part of the world, we like to use the nature or the weather or wild animals. If we say somebody is a snake, we don't mean he's a snake. We mean he's maybe a fairly, he speaks with a forked tongue. He's a backbiter. That's what we mean when we say somebody's a snake. Or when we say somebody's a wolf, we mean he's ruthless. So we have our idiom also. It's connected to wildlife, to animals here in Africa. Europeans have their idiom. English have their idiom. It's mostly to do with cooking. Too many cooks spoil the broth, and that comes out to the kitchen. It doesn't mean a cook spoiling the broth or whatever. It just means too many people trying to solve or work at one thing might create more confusion. Right. So I hope I've conveyed to you the idea of idiom, of imagery, of figurative speech. And we cannot use idiom or figurative speech as literal. Right. Now let's look at the word constitution. Constitution, the constitution of your country. Is that idiom? Is that figurative speech? Is that literal? Think about it. What is a constitution? Of course, it's idiom. If you really think carefully about it, a constitution is something that is built. It is something that is assembled. It is the connected parts. It is the way the thing is put together, the way it is composed, the way it is put together. That is the constitution. And if I say there's a constitution to your country, there's a constitution to your sports club, there's a constitution to your social club, it doesn't mean the building, it means the way it is put together. But the word constitution hardly ever means the physical building or structure. It now mostly is used in a figurative sense. Right, now let's take another example. If I use the example, if you and political party, right? And let's say the MAGA movement, because it's very common, very popular, it's in the news a lot. What is the MAGA movement? The MAGA movement, their credo or their motto or their platform is Make America Great Again, MAGA. It's a credo, it's a simple statement that galvanizes the adherents of that movement, the members of that movement, and that is the idea of a platform. But the word platform doesn't really mean a stage. This is a platform. Let me show you. A platform looks like something like this more. Right? Maybe a bigger one. But that's a platform. Not, but when we say, what is the platform of your political party, you might say it is redistribution of wealth. It is sharing the wealth of the country. That could be the platform. It's the credo. It's the founding or the binding statements, right? So that is a platform. So I hope I've brought across to you the presence or the idea of figurative speech, of idiom, of using simple things in the world with which to indicate or conjure up or convey the meaning of more complex things. Like a constitution of a sports club would be a difficult idea, but by using the word constitution or by using the word platform, we make it easier, right? And gradually those idioms or those figurative ideas, they become standard, right? And then when you say that America, smashed Britain in the cricket or in whatever game they were playing, in ice hockey or whatever. Canada smashed America in ice hockey. It doesn't mean they went and physically smashed it. It's idiom, right? So I hope I've got that across to you. Now let's come to the key word in the text that we will be reading now. You see, the key word that I'm going to have to explain in the following few verses is the word arsh. Ain, ra, shin. Arsh. This is a word that is translated as throne or palace or house. Let me see if I can find where the word arsh is being used. Take a look at this here. I have a dictionary open here, very reputable dictionary. And this dictionary looks at the word arsh. Built, constructed, roofed, building, made of wine, formed and armed, cased with stone. Arsh, arasha was confused, train, wine former. Arsh, state settled, overgrew. Orsh, throne, right, there we go. Arash, tent, pavilion. Throne, tent, pavilion, palace, roof, pillar, support. Can you see that? Pillar, support. All right. So, often we translate the word arsh as just a throne, right? The Qur'an, people translate the Qur'an as merely a throne. But there's a different word that is used for throne, which is kursi. But yet the word arsh is used. And then there's often the word urush is used, which then is translated as buildings or roofs. And let me go back to the picture here. This, in fact, where are we? This, in fact, is what we refer to. Let me just quickly take it to the right thing. This is what we refer to as an arsh. Now, in ancient Arabic, you would get a huge structure like this with 4 poles and then some wood beams or bamboo, branches across, which would either be used to sit inside to cover yourself from the sun, or in some cases, it also referred to a platform. A platform, right, where people would go onto and sit on top of. So, for example, the story of Yusuf, Surah Yusuf, in the final few verses of that chapter, it says that, and so Yusuf's 2 parents climbed up, was elevated onto the platform with him, onto his platform, which was his place, his domain, his elevated domain, the place where he operates from, right? So let's take this idea now to the verses. The word arsh is the key word here. And we have to go through the verses. Let's then look at these verses.
She had left the place,
let's just quickly
and her entire palace, if you'd like to say, was...
Let's leave Mufti Menk's idea quickly. When he speaks about, the fairy tales there. And I have great respect for people who hold on to the idea that it is in fact a flying palace and so on. But let us look for a more a meaning that we can identify with. And I'm at chapter 27, verse 20. Now let's first start with this amazing story here, because this is the talking bird, right? This is the talking bird. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وتفقت الطير فقال ما لي لا أرى الهدهد أم كان من الغائبين. He looked in vain for a particular one of the birds and remarked, how is it that I do not see the pigeon? How is it that I do not see the pigeon? Now, those of you who are saying, hey, stop. The word is hudhud, and a hudhud is a whoopoe bird. It's not a pigeon, Anwar. Why are you saying it's a pigeon? But let me take you back to the Arabic dictionary here, and we see here. And I said to you, I'm going to be intensive. I'm going to look at the Arabic quite intensively. And here it says the hudhud. Let me get to it. What it says here is that according to K, which is the Qamus al-Muhit, it says the hudhud signifies a pigeon that coos much. And any bird that coos and makes that sound, kur. So I'm not inventing the idea that the hudhud is a pigeon, because there is an ancient dictionary that refers to the hudhud as a pigeon. Now, for some reason, the translators or the people who study, the men, and you see, I'm not criticizing the Qur'an. I am critically reviewing the translators. Allah's word is immutable, is eternal, is perfect. It is our understanding that we are revising, challenging, and being critical over. Now, I always thought, why on earth would this whoopoe bird be so important? And I went to look, but why? You see, in ancient times, people did not have the detailed taxonomy of birds, and they would refer to any type of bird. We're talking to 1,500 years ago. They would refer to any bird that made a certain sound as a particular bird. Now, in this dictionary, clearly, we are seeing here that hudhud can signify a pigeon that is cooing much. And that is why I have moved to the translation of the pigeon. The pigeon. And just keep that pigeon handler in mind a bit, because it will become clear just now. Right? I'm coming to the palaces, right? The flying palaces just now. Let's first sort this talking bird out. Because this pigeon was talking, this pigeon was chatting like crazy to Sulaiman. And we need to sort out what is this all about. So here Sulaiman is looking in vain for one of the birds, and how is it that I do not see the pigeon? Could it be that he is absent without leave? And then I shall penalize the handler severely, or even slay the bird, unless the handler, offers me clear explanation. Now, you see, here, if you read the verse without thinking, without applying your mind, you get to a point where you have to draw out an absurd meaning, where Allah is saying, where is this little bird? An insignificant bird. If I don't find it, Solomon is saying, where is this little bird? If I don't find this bird, I'm going to punish him severely and slaughter him. Fasbah, I will zabh him, I will slaughter him. Now you any grown person who hears that will think this is an absurd statement. Solomon is going to punish a bird and slaughter a bird. Has this guy lost his mind or what? But you have to fill in the missing words, because if you say, I'm going to, where is the bird? The bird would be the bird that is with his handler. A few verses earlier in this chapter, I didn't cover that verse. Allah says that He taught Solomon the art of mantiq at-tayr. Mantiq at-tayr. In other words, dialogue, speech, in verbally engaging, or correspondence of birds. And what does that mean? Does it mean that Allah taught Solomon how to speak to birds? When we look at a search for when was pigeon mail invented, we are placed right back there at the time of Sulaiman, or just before him, 1,500 BC. And so this whole crazy idea of Solomon being taught the art of speaking to birds is really teaching Solomon the art, or his people, or in his group, or in his fraternity, in his in his community with his people, the art of correspondence using birds. And that is the mantiq at-tayr that the Qur'an refers to, the correspondence, the engagement, verbal engagement, utilizing birds. Now this particular verse then fits in perfectly. So every bird handler, every pigeon handler, every pigeon that is a mailing pigeon as a handler, as somebody that knows where the pigeon goes to and where it comes from, right? So you have to interpret the words here that Solomon is saying now is interchanging the meaning. I shall penalize the handler and even slay the bird unless the handler offers me a clear explanation. Move on. Let's move on. But the handler returned, فَمَكَثَ غَيْرَ بَعِيدٍ فَقَالَ, and before long, and announced, I have discovered that which completely escaped your attention till now. I bring for you from Sheba reliable news. So what is going on here? What is going on here? Just use your logical faculties. Just use your brain, use your adult brain, and you can think. What is happening here is that the handler was gone. The handler, he locates the handler, the birdman, right? The birdman, the bird unit, the bird controller. And he says, whoa. Before you get angry, I have amazing news for you. And I've discovered a kingdom. We have a kingdom here. And I've made contact. We are communicating with a kingdom that has escaped your attention till now. And obviously now, a correspondence line, a line of correspondence has been established with the kingdom of Sheba. Right. And now the bird handler is able to report on this this kingdom that had until now been unknown to Solomon. And the bird handler replies, now according to the interpretation of those who are imposing fantastic and supernatural meanings on the words and forget the power of idiom, the power of figurative speech, they now see this bird speaking to King Solomon. It's not the bird speaking to King Solomon, of course not. The bird is not saying, I find that the woman is ruling over them. The hoopoe bird is not saying that. It's the pigeon male. It's the exchange between Sheba and the local controller of the bird that is controlling the flight of this bird. And there's a correspondence link set up, and the bird has brought all this information from that kingdom where people have provided this information. I find, and the bird says, but not the bird says, the messages attached to the bird say, I find that the woman is ruling over them, provided with every requisite, having a so solid creedal platform. There we introduce another word now. Shayin, walaha arshun azimun. Walaha arshun azimun. Now we introduce this important concept here. This woman has a solid azim, arsh platform. You see, I mentioned earlier to you that an arsh is actually an elevated platform. It's a thing that you stand on, or a thing that you take cover from the sun under. So it is really a structure, it's really a constitution. And when in the rest of the Quran you look at all the places where the word arsh is used, it refers to the cosmic arsh, to the platform that spans the cosmos. The arsh of God is the platform, it is the structure, it is the institution, it is the composition, it is the way that the cosmos is structured. That is the arsh of Allah. The arsh of Allah is the structure, the platform of the cosmos. And here this bird male, pigeon male comes, and it says, we have to translate the word arsh properly now. And she has a solid creedal platform. A constitution in ancient times would be a creedal platform, or a religious platform, or in modern parlance we would say a political platform. But in ancient times there were only religious platforms, right? All platforms were basically religious, because the king would mix his authority with that of the deity or God or the gods. So if we can for a moment stay with me and accept with me that the word arsh is a platform, not a chair, it could be a throne, yes, but please don't picture a throne with rubies and with gold and with, as you've seen in Lord of the Rings or whatever, or Game of Thrones. You have to picture the old Arab idiom, which is a straw house, a flat-roofed reeds or bamboo structure. That is the idea of a platform. And this woman had a solid platform. She had a solid structure. She had a solid belief system, a creedal system. That is what this queen had. And remember, when a queen or when a king has basically very sound purchase on his or her creedal structure, that causes a very stable kingdom. For example, if America believes in the liberties of freedom, justice and equality, these are creedal statements. They're not linked to any charter or any united. They are the founding creed. That is the founding creed of America, and it unites the people of America. And we in South Africa, we have a credo that says unity in diversity. It's a creed that is supposed to unite and bind and galvanize the citizens of the country. So in this particular verse, the Qur'an is now using the figurative speech here of a creedal platform, not a flat roof straw structure. She doesn't have a solid flat straw structure. You cannot say that the arsh now is a palace or a chair or yes, people like to say it's a throne because it would be silly to say it's a straw structure. But it is more intelligent even, beyond saying it's a palace, to say it is a solid creedal platform or a solid creed. Now let's read further and you'll see how this thing just makes so much more sense. I find her and her people, can you see now, because the previous verse ended with they have a solid creedal platform. And now in the next verse 24, it's going to unpack the creedal platform. You see, precision. Don't underestimate the precision and the logical sequencing that the Qur'an uses. So it answers, it actually reveals that creedal platform in the next line. In the next line it says, I find her and her people prostrating to the sun instead of to the one true God. The devil made their actions appear pleasing to them, thus diverting them from the path so they remain unable to find their way. So in verse 23, it said that these people have a very firm and well-established solid creed. And then 27, 24, it gives the creed. And then the bird, or whatever the bird handler says, should they not yield to the one true God? Because he says, whoa, I got some interesting information for you. There's this country there called Sheba, and these people are worshipping the sun. And this woman is imposing a very convincing creed on the people. Right? The bird handler is communicating with Solomon. And now he's asking, ألا يسجدوا لله الذي يخرج الخبأ? Should they not yield to the one true God? And in Solomon's time they are mu'min, they are mu'minin, right? He who unveils what is at times hidden. So they are worshipping the sun. But should they not worship the one? They are worshipping the sun, but should they not worship the one, in other words, who is in fact making the sun appear and making other things appear? He who knows what you hold private will make public. So the bird handler is in communication with Solomon. No God is there but he, Lord of the unassailable cosmic platform. And then contrasting her platform, which is the platform of lies, of saying the sun is God, with the Lord of the cosmic platform, Arshil Azim, with the real platform, with the real creed, with the real structure of how reality should be structured. All right. So that is just, we are dealing with a throne, with the arsh, right? That which is translated as the throne, which I'm suggesting and I'm reading to you here, is really the platform, the creed. Let's quickly go on and you'll see how it will just keep on making sense. Solomon responded, we shall see whether you are truthful or untruthful, speaking back to the bird, the pigeon handler. Take this letter of mine, deliver it to them, then withdraw from them and see what their response is. Now Solomon is saying, we're going to do this peacefully first. Take this letter to them and deliver it to the queen. And now we focus, we fly quickly to the Queen of Sheba in her council, and she sits in her council, I think it's somewhere in ancient Yemen, and she says, assembled council, I have been delivered an official letter. In fact, it comes from Solomon, and it is written in the name of the one true God, the kind cosmic benefactor. It reads, regard not yourselves higher than me. Instead, approach me in a state of compliance. And so, excerpt from this letter says, do not regard yourself as high as me. This is the voice this is Solomon quoting God. Do not regard yourselves as higher than me, God. Approach me in a state of compliance. Let's continue. She spoke and said, my dear counselors, advise me in this matter. I do not make a decision without your counsel. They responded, we possess power and great military might, but the command is yours to decide. Do consider what it is that you command. Speaking to their queen. And their queen then answers and says, when kings enter a city, they ruin it and humiliate its nobility. Such is their way. So she's worried. She's saying, look, if we allow them to invade, whether they win or whether they lose, it might be damaging and devastating to us, and we as the nobility might lose everything. I will send them a gift. Now first she tries a bribe, right? I will send them a gift and away. Inni mursila ilayhim بِهَدِيَّةٍ. I will send them a gift and await for what the messengers will return. She tries a bribe. Now when the queen's messenger reaches him, Solomon wrote back, and he doesn't accept the bribe, right? He says, "Do you, dear queen, mean to add to my monetary wealth? If that is the case, God has already gifted me with that which is better than the monetary wealth he gave to you. A gift such as this of yours should really only be celebrated by people like yourselves." So he says, look, this type of enticement will work on you, but it doesn't work on somebody like me. I'm post-material. I'm beyond material. He also told the messenger, "Return to them and tell them that we shall enter there with a force which they will be unable to match. Then we shall unceremoniously topple the queen and her nobility and make them fade away." Solomon then asked, "Dear nobles of my court," now he's addressing his own court, his own nobles, his own expertise or experts, "who among you can hand me the exact substance of her creedal platform?" He's asking his people, not who can bring me her palace. Why would he ask such a stupid thing? Who can bring me her palace and her throne? She's perhaps 1,000 miles away. And he's saying, who can bring me her chair? If we're not in a fantasy world, the earth is not created as a fantasy land, my friends, a Talmud fantasy or a Torah fantasy. The Qur'an is not a book of fantasy. We don't have to lose our minds when we try to look for meaning in the Qur'an. So again, I emphasize that the word arsh here means a platform, not a literal platform, but a figurative platform, and add that a creedal platform, a religious platform, a platform of belief, a platform of culture, a platform of people's accepted beliefs. And Solomon says, "Dear nobles of my court, who among you can hand me the exact substance of her creedal platform, her belief, the belief of these people, even before she and her entourage come to me in compliance?" So he is saying, and obviously from the verse we can see that there is an agreement that they will be visiting Solomon, and that is exactly corroborated by other verses, is that she set off. The following verses will show that she is making ready to travel to Solomon's palace or to his court. But before she comes, he says, who can give me her creedal platform, the exact way that her people believe, the ideas, the exact ways that they believe. And a powerfully cunning member of the clandestines, which people translate as the jinn. I prefer to think of it as undercover or clandestine members of his army. You look at it as you like, the word jinn. I've had programs discussing the word jinn. It could refer to various types of characters. Could be a fire demon. I'm not saying it's not that. In this case, I believe the word jinn translates better as a cunning member, a powerfully cunning member of his clandestines. So somebody says, I can go undercover, obviously, and I can bring you the exact contents of a creedal platform. I can give you what you ask, and I can bring it to you by this evening, by tonight. So obviously very fast horse, whatever. Right. A person with knowledge of written records. قَالَ الَّذِي عِنْدَهُ عِلْمٌ مِنَ الْكِتَابِ. Now, my friends, in the year 1500 BC, there's no book standing there. There's tablets. There's inscriptions. There's papyrus writings. And somebody who has a good overview and in-depth knowledge of inscriptions, of tablets, of papyrus, have a good knowledge of that, now speaks and says, I, dear king, speaking to Solomon, can deliver it to you in the blink of an eye. I have it available here. I have it ready. So Solomon, obviously then, from the person who has knowledge of the papyrus and the inscriptions and the writing, he has it there, and he says, here's it. Here's the creedal platform. This is their creed. This is what they believe. And obviously it says that something about we worship the sun, and like I said to you when you said we believe in freedom and equality, that was and fraternity and whatever, they had their creed written out there, and that creed was we shall bow to the sun, and the queen represents the god, and the queen is that was obviously how their creed read, and the creed invoked or established the queen as a deity, and along with the sun. Right. And then as he looks at this creed, Solomon felt comfortable. He is delivered the creed, and he composes a counter creed. One Solomon felt comfortable. Now you're going to say, Anwar, you're taking a leap here. But you see, the Qur'an doesn't always cover the little blanks, and sometimes it does require of you to fill the blank with what is obvious. Now, the Arabic says, قَالَ الَّذِي عِنْدَهُ عِلْمٌ مِّنَ الْكِتَابِ أَنَا أَتِي بِهِ قَبْلَ أَنْ. Right. Somebody there who knew writing and books, and not books like inscriptions and recorded history, whatever, says, I can give you the creed. Right? We're still going with this creed, right? The arsh being the pedestal, the structure, the constitution, the platform. She says, I can give you their platform, their belief system. Here's it. Now, Solomon had a look at it. Now, that's the gap here. And it says here, once Solomon felt, this is just a translation, once Solomon felt comfortable with the substance of their new creedal platform. That's the bracketed part. He said, because he said, it says here, فَلَمَّا رَآهُ مُسْتَقِرًّا عِنْدَهُ قَالَ. So in other words, he looks at their creed, and obviously he alters it. He changes it drastically. He says, no, she's not God. The sun isn't God. We need to alter this. And he becomes comfortable. Mustaqir indahu. Now the word mustaqir, I have it here. We can look at the word mustaqir for you. I mean, let me just quickly again show you the actual meaning of the word arsh. Arsh, right? Just in case you're still stuck on the idea that it is a throne. Here's the word arsh. Right? It is very, very clear that it is. It's one of the recognized dictionaries. What dictionary is this? I'll get to it now. It says an arsh, a booth or shed or thing constructed for shade, mostly made of canes or reeds, made of palm sticks, of which is thrown species. So the first meaning is a structure. It's not a throne. It's not a throne. The throne comes very far below. When does throne come in? Very far below. So an arsh is primarily signifies a booth or a constructed thing. So what it says here is that Solomon felt comfortable. Look up the word mustaqir. I didn't actually save that one. Mustaqir means comfortable, like, with it, with the substance of the new. He said, this, what is written, so this creed that he rewrites, this, what is written, is by the grace of my Lord, a means of testing whether I am grateful or ungrateful. Whoever is grateful, truly his gratitude is a gain for his own self, but if any is ungrateful, truly my Lord is free of all need, supreme in honor. So he writes the bottom line of the creed, right? The new creed that he writes, he adds this, and he says, this creed says whether I am a kafir or a non-kafir. Kafir means ungrateful, That's another meaning of the word kafir. You didn't know that. Now you know it. Kafir means a rejecter, a denier of truth, but it also means an ungrateful person. So the text here says kafir, in fact. Man kafara ashkur wakfur. Right. So this is the bottom line, almost like the swearing part of the creed, like this is what I believe and this is what I swear by. Let's go to the next line. Solomon said, alter now her creedal platform accordingly to see if she will become guided aright or will not be guided aright. Now, many of the translations say, cover up her creed or cover up her throne, and it's a whole discussion about the throne, and this palace. Some people say it's this palace that's standing there, and they got to now cover up this palace. How the heck do you cover up a palace? How do you alter a palace? Even a throne. Why would they hide the throne from her? And what's this? What purpose does it serve? The meaning that makes sense, that is only in some of the translations, is that Solomon said, alter now her platform accordingly to see if she will become guided aright. So they now, my friends, let me just quickly take stock. Solomon has sent an ultimatum to the Queen of Sheba. And he said, look, we are prepared to come militarily and defeat you and overthrow this false creed or false governance or false belief system that you've implemented, where you enslave people, obviously. I mean, any false belief system is a means of enslaving the masses, like we have today. The false creed of capitalism is something that enslaves. And I'm not saying capitalism is free market. Capitalism is anti-free market, corporate capitalism. Sorry, just that aside quickly. So, a false creed is always a means of enslaving people. And her false creed was about the power of the son and the power of the queen. He writes an ultimatum, this form of enslavement based on a false creed has to stop. And she tries to bribe him first, the bribing fails, and then she's ready to come to him to negotiate. Well, before she's on her way, he asks his elite scholars, experts, give me the detailed substance of her platform, her creed, her belief platform. And they somebody gave it to him, and he alters it and he produces a creed that is in line with what is a Muslim creed, a Muslim creed in the way of a submission to nature, submission to the will of God, submission to what is natural, what is real, what is true. Right? Now, don't think of a Muslim as somebody who wears a certain type of attire, wears a long, ugly beard, and who, brushes his hair with a stick. That's not the image of a Muslim you must see. The image of a Muslim, I want you to see somebody who is at harmony with what is natural, what is clean, what is real, what is wholesome, what is beneficial. That is a Muslim. And what is anti-fascist, anti-falsehood, anti-false creed, anti-falsehood. And she says, I'm coming, and he studies her creed, and he produces an alternative creed, a platform, an alternative credo, and he says, so when she comes, this is the one I want you to show her. This is the one that we will show her, right? And we will see what she says about it. This new altered creed. It's technical, but the Qur'an is not written for 5-year-olds. Please, people. The Qur'an is not addressed to 5-year-olds. The Qur'an is addressed to you with a decent amount of brain cells that can make sense of things. And if you want to believe in palaces, go for it. I'm not stopping you. Flying palaces and flying genies. I believe this is a creedal platform. The word arsh is definitely a platform. It's a booth, as it is said here. It is something that is a structure. I'm not being out of line with my meaning there. And the word arsh in the form of a creedal platform is the system of belief. When she arrived, she was asked, pointing to the creed, to the written papyrus, whatever it was written on, does this reflect your platform? Do you agree with this platform? Now it obviously omits submission to the sun and submission to Bilqis as the queen, emperor, god, goddess. It omits those things because it is the altered platform now. It is no longer make America great again. It is now make the world great. It's no longer worshipping of the emperor, worshipping of the elite. It is now worshipping of God. Does this reflect your creedal platform? She replied, it may just as well be yes. And she succumbs. She agrees. And those words, قالت كأنه هو. It is fine. It is just as well. This is just as well. Entourage then says, and those words you need to also infer from the context. Before her rule, we obtained sound knowledge at a time when we were still compliant with God's will. The things she sanctified besides the one true God obstructed her. She comes from a people who were ungrateful. Then it was said to her, enter now the edifice, the large and huge halls of the king Solomon. As she surveyed it, she mistook the floors for a lake and bared her legs. Solomon said, it is a courtyard paved with glass. She replied, my lord, I've wronged myself. I now submit myself along with Solomon to the Lord of all nations. What a beautiful story. Just want to mention also the idea of glass. I just checked. We were sitting and discussing glass, me and my family at home. And I said, the Qur'an says glass was used to make tiles. There were glass tiles. And somebody in my family actually, my wife actually looked up and she says, yes, it's interesting that glass was invented in the time of Moshe, which is, I think, in 1,000 or so before BC. So it is almost like exactly around the time of David and Solomon that glass was invented. And so we find here several inventions. We find the invention of pigeon mail. We find the invention of glass tiles. The imposition of a just creed or a just platform for a king. So it is the first constitutional monarchy. The English always claim, that they are the people of the Magna Carta, and they are the first constitutional monarchy. I think Sheba was in fact the first constitutional monarch who created a kingdom under God. So these are the interesting discoveries that we see if we read the Quran properly and we don't try to find palaces flying around and birds talking and having a conversation with people. Then we actually get quite a decent meaning. So I'm leaving this for you. I mean, I've shown you the relevant verses. Now you can do the homework. You go and test what I've said to you. What is an arsh? An arsh is a four-legged structure. In English, we call a constitution or a structure. A political structure is a structure that is based on certain political ideas. Right? Now you try and not be literal about the Quran, and you afford the Quran an equal courtesy that you will afford any other literature of our time. And you afford the Quran the ability to use figurative language, to use the word arsh as a structure, as a creed, as a belief system, that you then make sense of these verses in that sense, instead of saying an arsh is a palace and a throne and the jinn is offered to fly with us. No. And then of course the other thing is the bird. You move away, when the Quran says he taught Solomon and David the art of mantiq at-tayr, conversation using birds, or correspondence using birds, or communication using birds. No, he's not saying he spoke with the birds. He used birds. And stop, you know, this hoopoe bird. The dictionary is saying that the ancient Arabs would use the word hudhud for any bird that made a coo sound. And we know pigeons make those sounds. If you've ever been around pigeons, you know they make those sounds. And we know that the pigeon is the one bird gifted with a power of, you know, a GPS, built-in GPS, and fine-tuned to travel accurately between points, almost like thousands and thousands of miles away from each other. My friends, my brothers and sisters, this is how I read my Qur'an, using my rational faculties, and I try to first avoid the unnatural, supernatural, the fantastic. And Muslims, why am I doing this series? Is because Muslims are trapped in the supernatural. We really think that we are good Muslims by entertaining and sticking to the supernatural, by refusing to exercise our intellect. But brothers and sisters, I hope enough of you will see the sense. Go and read the verses, go and take the dictionaries, listen to this video again, see my explanation, and you tell me in the comments whether it makes sense to you. Tell me in the comments. If you want to give me a critique of what I've said, give it to me in detail. Don't tell me it doesn't make sense. It doesn't help me. You know, I want you to tell me that the word, let's say the word wood cannot mean pigeon, and you must unprove the dictionary that I've shown you. Or you must tell me that the word arsh cannot mean a structure figuratively, and at that a belief structure or a creed structure, or and it has to mean a palace. You know, the dictionaries don't give palace and throne first. It says it's a four-legged structure. I'll leave it at that, my friends. Inshallah, I hope you have found these ideas and reading of these verses to be at least thought-provoking, and I'll appreciate your comments. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.